that even the right lid? No. Let's do it like that. The Dapper Capper is coming. What's up, Foxy Grandpa? How are we today, sir? Alright, where was I? Where did all the measuring cups go? My goodness. The half cup in here somewhere? 3/4? 2/3? There it is. 1. What's up, Dos Dosco? Cosby Puddin' Pop. Kamikaze Kitten Julinde. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I got a bit of an announcement. We're going to continue Cooking with Frag on March 4th. We're going to have a new format. I'm just not organized yet. I'm very excited to do Cooking with Frag still, but March 4th, we're taking another week off. Not March, May 4th, excuse me. Need some more of that coffee. May 4th. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, damn. Tina Skunk, good to see you. May 4th, we'll have a new format. I'm basically going to start over on Cooking with Frag and do it upright. Not enough hours in the day to be organized, so I need to have several months in plan. So, what's up, Zachariel? Good to see you. So, May 4th, we'll have a new format. I'll have new graphics. I'll have new plan. I'll actually have stuff prepared so you can see what we're going to be cooking weeks in advance and choose if you want to buy the ingredients for that. So, today's stir fry. I'm basically cooking food for myself. So that I have stuff to eat while I cast. Stir fry is one of my favorites. It's one of the easiest things to cook. I highly encourage everybody, if you don't know how to cook rice, learn how to cook rice. You can do anything with rice. What's up, Shannon and Sacriel? Nice to see you both in here. What's up, Dishi, Net, Ryan? So, I mean, yes, I can continue to do Cooking with Frag on a weekly basis, but I'm going to fall behind again if I do. And, well, preparation is everything in cooking, and I'd like to have ingredient lists post, like, at least a month in advance. So, that's my project to work on. And we'll have that done by May 4th. Okay. So, first things with rice. You don't have to wash your rice. It's definitely not required, but what washing your rice does, it gets all the stuff off the outside. If you don't wash your rice, you're going to end up with a little bit earthier tasting rice, as well as it's going to be stickier. And for like a stir fry bowl, we definitely don't want sticky rice. So how do you know if it's clean? If you look at the water running off, it's still very milky and white, so you keep rinsing it and moving it around until it is no longer milky and white and the water runs clear through. There we go. I'm just going to let that drain for a minute. Rice usually takes about 20 minutes. I will say the directions on a pack of rice are usually spot on. Usually spot on for what you need. So it's just it's a relative water to rice ratio, and then you bring it to a boil, cover it, and put it on super low. But I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. I make cooking fun, well, good. And it says it's going to be pretty simple. It's going to chop a bunch of stuff up. We're going to saute it. We're going to put it over rice. We're going to call it good. We're going to use the classic ginger and garlic. I think I got basil in here too. Let's see. I think we got basil. Basil? Maybe not. That's okay. Got time. Oh, I do have basil. Cilantro. Actually, cilantro will do. There's several good combinations you can do with, I guess, in the Asian flavor profile with cilantro. Mint, basil, cilantro is a good one. Been told I have basil. Oh, we have fresh basil. Look at this. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that just beautiful? Cilantro is really good stuff. Cilantro actually goes very well with other herbs. Cilantro has a very earthy, pungent quality to it. It mixes very well with other fresher herbs like basil, because basil has more of a sweet composition to it. So I guess we'll talk about chiffonading basil as well then, because that's fun. I like doing that. But first things first, let's get our rice started, because that's going to take the longest. I used to be deathly afraid of cooking rice when I first got into kitchens. Well, because if you mess it up, you really mess it up. And you're usually doing it in very large quantities. But not anymore. Rice is easy. Okay, well, let's go over the basics. Every time you measure, make sure you get down flat and look at how much you've measured. Like, that looks like 2 cups when I filled it up, but it's really only 1 3/4. That'll do. Now, I don't have the appropriate lid for this pot, but I thought I'd throw this out there. You can cover it with foil. You can cover it with a larger pot, like I'm gonna do. You can cover it with a plate if you want to, as long as it's mostly covered. Ideally, you want a perfectly tight-fitting lid, but not every kitchen has matching pots and lids and all that stuff. I know that. We used to do all sorts of funky stuff. Cover these giant 30-gallon pots with sheet pans and stuff like that, tin foil, you name it. As long as you can get it. You get out of here, cat. Not even good. Cat's good. Cat's that's Mr. Fitzer. What are you doing, buddy? No cats in the kitchen. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Alright, so with rice, just add a little bit of salt. All we're looking for is a boil, and then we're going to put it down to like the lowest temperature possible, and just let it go. Cat versus ferret. Ferret wins every single time. Doing well, Inno. Thank you. So once again, LethalFrag will continue May 4th with the new format. I want to have ideally is recipes posted a month in advance. That's what I want, if not more. So that everybody is on the same page. I don't feel like it's organized enough right now. I need to take time to do that. Yeah, those are very well fed cats. That ferret's really large. I'm calling PETA. Must be injecting those ferrets with steroids. Alright, so yes, stir fry is something I eat quite often, and I really recommend people learn how to make it. Not only does it get you better at cooking vegetables, but if you can cook rice, you can survive on a budget. That's a fact. Maybe they're not the tastiest budget that you've ever had, but if you can cook white rice and brown rice, you can live off of very little money. You can add beans to it. Just have rice and beans. You can cook vegetables. You can do anything with rice, and it is the most cost-effective food to live off of. Wild rice is great as well, which is why the majority of the world, that is their staple food, because it's very easy to produce. It's very cheap. It's very filling. The thing in the red bag looks like a baby. Well, I'll show it to you. It's ginger. Yes, wild rice and brown rice is going to be more nutritious than white rice, but there's nothing wrong with white rice. If you're putting healthy stuff on top of your white rice, you're good. But you can see we're all about our grains. This is all just a big jug full of rice-related products, grains. Got white rice, long grain rice, brown rice, arborio rice, brown jasmine rice, quinoa, so on and so forth. But I mean, the total of this thing right here is probably about, oh, I don't know, $20, maybe $25. And that's enough to eat for, I mean, if you're just going to eat grains, at least a month. Alright, here we're bubbling. Alright. Then we're going to turn it down to super, super, super low. As low as I can get it without it going off. Lid on it, and we'll set a timer this time for 20 minutes. Let's go 18. One thing you can do is if you're not sure on your burners, if you haven't cooked a lot of rice, undershoot your timer and take a look at it, because if your temperature is on too hot, the water is going to evaporate faster, and you don't want to end up with burnt rice. So set it for a couple minutes slower. This is pretty new stovetop for me, and I have not used that burner to cook rice yet, so it never hurts to be a little bit safe. Trader Joe's has lots of good stuff. The farmer's market where I live also just opened up, so that's where the bok choy and I believe the basil's from. Alright, ginger and garlic. Ginger is a root vegetable. It has lots of, I guess, healthy properties to it. There's lots of studies done on that and whatnot, but frankly it's just delicious. If you try to eat raw ginger, it's extremely acidic. It will burn you. It gives you like a chemical burn on your tongue. Right, so if you try to eat a large chunk of raw ginger, the easiest way to peel ginger, well, you can cut off everything with a paring knife, but the easiest way is just take a spoon and drag it over the skin. It comes off pretty easy. It's probably the most cost-effective way too. You're getting less waste. If you're worried about your fingers smelling, I would highly recommend wearing gloves while doing this. It's very potent, very juicy. Yeah, that's some good ginger. It's very aromatic as well, so we're going to add this pretty close to the start. And aromatics, this means something smells really good. And when you add something that smells really good to like a stir fry, it does permeate through the rest of what you're cooking and ends up tasting delicious. Alright, so that's good enough. We'll trim the rest. Self a little trash bowl. Yeah, it helps for a lot of things. It's good. It's a good thing to know how to use. It's also extremely tasty. Yep, good as nausea. For nausea, that's why I always recommend you eat or drink ginger ale when you have an upset stomach. Though I don't know how much actual fresh ginger is in actual ginger ale. Probably not very much. All right, so all I did here is this side looked kind of funky. Had a little brown spot on it. Not a big deal, but made a flat point for the ginger to sit on, and this is what we're going to work with. I'm going to cut it into strips. And we're going to take those strips, we're going to stack them. It's always easier if you have a flat surface to work on. Even on like an onion or anything, garlic, always cut off a flat end so you have a stable place to rest it on. This piece also looks kind of funky, a little bit brown, so this is what we're going to use. Anyways, we got all these thin strips of ginger, stack them on top of each other, then we can cut them into strips. And then finally, into cubes. Ooh. Little knife slip there. My hair is crazy today. So honestly, that's pretty much the way you cut everything into cubes. It's all a matter of getting the shape that you want. Perfect cubes always come from a square, which is then cut into strips, and is then cut into cubes. Whether you're doing a carrot or garlic or onions, anything, all the exact same concept. They aren't that expensive. Actually, that knife right there I got on sale for $110, and it is an 18-inch Global Chef knife. If you keep your eye out for a sale, they're actually not too bad, and they will last you literally a lifetime, as long as you take care of them. They definitely do go on sale on several occasions. Just got to keep your eye out. Knife is one thing you don't. If you're going to start cooking a lot, a knife is not one thing that you want to skimp on. A good knife goes a very long way for helping you cook. What's up, Ravenar? Good to see you, sir. You always want to, if you steal your knife. I've demonstrated stealing, and I will again after May 4th. I will again after May 4th. You always want to wipe it clean. The reason you wipe it clean is what you're doing when you're stealing the knife is you're not necessarily sharpening it. What you're doing is every time you make a cut, you get a micro abrasion inside of the steel of your knife. So there's little ridges in the knife that you probably can't even see unless it becomes really bad. And that's what makes your knife dull. So you're smoothing those out, which does take off a little bit of metal. So you don't want to put metal back into the food. Alright, so I'm going to take a look at this piece of garlic here, figure out which end I want to make flat. This is probably the flattest, so least waste by doing that. So we're going to cut this one flat. There we go. The exact same concept we did with the ginger. And we're not going to use all of this. That's a crap ton of garlic. Garlic and ginger are very acidic, so you see me wipe the blade of my knife. You never want to leave raw garlic or raw ginger or raw anything on the edge of your blade. That's one of the top ways to ruin it or lose the edge and have to get it sharpened quicker. So as soon as you're done cutting garlic or ginger or anything, always wipe off the edge of your blade. So we got all these really nice little strips. Which will leave us with diced garlic. Once again, point out, I'm pretty big on simple flavor combinations. I don't like over-the-top food. Well, I do, but I don't like cooking it because it takes so much time and effort. Simple flavors like garlic and ginger and onions and simple stuff is what I like to eat on a day-to-day basis. And I think unless you are retired and all you have to do is cook for yourself, cooking yourself a super fancy meal every single meal is not a reality for most people. It never will be. You can definitely treat yourself and cook yourself a nice dinner and whatnot, but you know, everyday food is going to be simple. It's not going to be aggressively seasoned or super awesome all the time. Not that I don't really enjoy a very good stir fry, but it's not fancy food, and it doesn't need to be tasty. Yeah, I need to purchase a slap chop. Go out and buy yourself a slap chop. Culinary genius. Okay, now I need to cut the rest of our veggies. We got about, well, 10 minutes till the rice is done. How's it going, Lori? Dude, I can't keep my hair on my face today. It's ridiculous. Alright. Got some lovely, lovely bok choy. Bok choy is one of my favorite vegetables. Alright, bok choy grows out of the ground like this. What you have to watch for is if you pull back the leaves, you can see, maybe, there's dirt inside there. So, always want to wash your bok choy. Same thing with leeks or celery. All that stuff, all the dirt hides down inside of where the roots are. That's also where the bugs hide, so that's the reason you wash it. Alright. Bok choy has a really earthy green taste. When you cook it down, it cooks down to almost nothing though. The only thing that has any real substance to it is the bottom piece. Alright, so what I usually do with bok choy is you got these big giant leaves on the top and these little tiny stems on the bottom. So you usually bunch it up, make a cut right down through the leaves. If it's big, you do it 4 ways. On a smaller one like this, we'll just do it once. And then all that's left is the chopping. So similar to other things that wilt, like a kale or I don't know, spinach, this will cook down to almost nothing. So you don't need to worry about the size. You just don't want a huge long string of greens. We're going to run out of real estate space here real soon. Okay, there we go. Now, for the bottom piece, you can do a couple different things. There reaches a point where there's a core in here that you do not want in your food. Obviously, it starts right there, then it goes up a little bit. So usually, just chop this down a little bit. I put it here and cut down at an angle. That way, you're getting the most usable product out of your bok choy. It also makes it very easy to see if you cut into the core. You'll see it in your pile, and you don't want that. This big pile is going to cook down to very, very, very small. When you're cooking a stir fry or any mixed vegetables at all, you really want to pay attention to how long things are going to take to cook. Bok choy cooks very quickly, so we aren't going to add it towards the start. Out of what we have sitting here, the broccoli is probably going to take the longest. Zucchini, bok choy, peppers, onions, all cook within a matter of a minute, minute and a half or so, depending on how much stuff you have in your pan. So that's the first thing I look at when I'm cooking any vegetable dish or even side vegetables. If you're going to be putting things together, if you're having broccoli and carrots, you don't want to cook the broccoli and the carrots at the same time because you're going to have super mushy broccoli and crunchy carrots or cooked carrots. So always be aware of what's going to take the longest. And that's simply a practice thing. They're just going to taste better if they're cooked properly. It doesn't mean you're going to make inedible food if you don't do it. But take note, if you cook something together and then you go, well, my broccoli's mushy, think about when did I want to add the broccoli? What do you think the best time to do that would be? My hair has been really long for a long time, Lori. You people just don't see it on the stream because it's behind my head. It's also all up in my face today. Alright, This isn't a very good one to demonstrate on. I demonstrated how to properly cut broccoli the last time we did it. Let's see if I can do it again. We'll try with the other head. Basically, when you cut broccoli, what you want to do is take, no matter how big the floret is, if it's a whole head of a floret or it's a tiny floret, you cut into just the stem and then you twist your knife like that. And the reason that you do that is it stops the green bits from falling off. If you just pull it apart like this, nothing falls off. However, if you take a piece of broccoli and you do this, you're left with all these little green pieces that fall off. It not only makes a mess out of your cutting board, but it wastes broccoli. What's the Hawaiian hairstyle? I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? I really should tie my hair back, but I never do. I've worn a ponytail once since I've been growing out my hair. Alright, I think that's going to be enough broccoli. See, we got 4 minutes left on our rice. We're making good pacing here. Braid or, yeah, ponytail. I don't know. I swear to God, every time I change something on the stream, I'll get mentioned. I wore my ponytail for about 20 minutes. 20 minutes on stream, and I shit you not. 250 people asked me if I cut my hair in that 20 minutes. So I'm always very hesitant to change anything on the stream, because I know it's going to happen. That is not an over-exaggeration of the amount of people that ask me if I cut my hair. 250 in 20 minutes. First world problems, I know, but yeah, that's my reality. That's right, we're gonna shave it off 1/8 of an inch at a time, mister. Yeah, if anything, it's probably an underestimate. You're right. Alright, we're just gonna go one of each of these peppers for fun. Oh, look at the little babies. I'll give these a rinse too. You're best off rinsing almost any vegetable. I usually don't wash mushrooms, and the reason I don't wash mushrooms is because they're like sponges and they just absorb all the water that you wash them with. Yes, change of routine. If anything, moments like that have solidified to me that people are creatures of routine, and myself included. We like the same things almost all the time. And if anything changes in that, we want to know why. Change is not bad, but we want to know why change happens. Alright, so we cut the peppers in half. Here's how I clean my peppers. Cut them in half like this. Then I put my thumb right at the edge of the green and just pop out the stem. Yeah, you can probably do it a little bit better than that, but it's way quick and easy. Then pull out the pith, do a little tap, get the seeds out. I found you waste a lot less if you put your thumb on the top. If you try to rip it out from the bottom, you usually end up taking a good chunk of the flesh out as well. Do. Alright, so our rice is almost technically done. God help me if I burnt rice. God help me. Oh, it's beautiful. Get this before it goes off. Alright, so you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Mushrooms are a textural thing for a lot of people. Okay, so it's not quite done. That's okay. Turn the temperature up just a little bit. Got about 2 minutes. As soon as we're done cutting the peppers, I'll pull it off the stove. Okay, so peppers, you can really cut them any way you want to. I'm going to do strips. So cut them in half this way, and we'll cut them into tiny strips the other way. Peppers, I like their flavor, but honestly they add great color, and often the way your food looks helps you think it's going to taste better, which then in turn does make it taste better. And the reason I'm cutting fast is I have my hand in the proper claw. My knife hand is like this, so there's no way for me to cut myself. Well, I shouldn't say no way. There's very little way for me to cut myself unless I do something really stupid, which has happened before, as we've seen on cast. Though I was not cutting properly last time. Whoops, man down. course, after you cook rice, you want it to sit on the counter for a while. They say 5 minutes. I usually give it 10 to 15. That allows all the water to redistribute through the rice. Any steam that's left over also makes it a lot more fluffy when it's done. Okay. Peppers. Go ahead and put this in a bag. Now, let's see how it tastes. How do you taste? Are you done? Not quite. Breaking the cardinal rules. You're not supposed to uncover the rice or stir the rice. We just did both. But on the same note, I didn't want to overcook the rice. I haven't used this burner for cooking rice before, so it ended up being a little bit too low. Sure, I'll show some of it when I go back downstairs, Zachary. I don't really have a proper camera set up to show it here. And it's just line work right now. It's not like I have a completed sleeve or anything. I probably still have another two and a half months to go until it's done. I have never missed a night of the challenge, no, Lori. Not a one. Yeah, nom nom nom, indeed. Okay, so far we got ginger, we got garlic, we got peppers. So all that's left is zucchini, and then we'll do basil and cilantro, and then we'll be ready to cook. Hey, chicken. Oh my goodness. I just swallowed a kernel of not quite cooked rice. That was not pleasant. I thought about adding mushrooms too, but I think we have enough food already. No, that's okay, Zachary. I'll show it on stream as soon as I go downstairs before I go on my food break. I know everybody gets so thirsty for the tattoos. Okay, well, so thirsty. Well, now I know the proper temperature to cook rice on that burner, so we're good. You know, cooking is a lot of experimentation. You're not going to get it right the first time. Okay, that's good. So that's just going to sit covered on the counter, waiting. It will absorb all the moisture. It'll fluff out. It'll be a much better product if it sits on the counter for 5 or 10 minutes. All right. Zucchini is really easy. Cut it however you want. I'll cut it the way. This is the way I love to eat zucchini. It's not the way most people do it. Most people do like cutting rings or half moons. I like to cut mine in quarters and then remove the pith. This can be kind of dangerous, so be careful. Usually what you do is you make a small incision inside, put your hand on the other side, and then pull the knife through. That is the safest way to do it. So you got your hand all the way on the other side, make a small incision, then pull through. That way you're not pulling the knife towards your hand. I have cut myself doing that before. I actually got a really nasty cut inside of a kitchen trying to do this quickly. Since then we've been a little more careful. Now, if you do this beforehand, you can throw chopped stuff like this up and put it in your rice. Actually adds a bit of flavor and nutrients. Will not make it taste weird or gross. It's just kind of there. Kind of just cooks down to nothing. Alright, got all this waste. I don't particularly like the inside of the zucchini. If you've eaten ring zucchini before and it's been overcooked, that ultra mushy wateriness, I'm in it for the flesh of the zucchini. This is the hard part that will still remain, have some crunchy texture to it, not that mushy, gross. Overcooked zucchini is gross, that's all I'm going to say. Alright, so I'm just going to cut this on a bias in pretty, I don't know, decent sized chunks. Not worried about perfect shapes or anything. I just want some good chunks of actual zucchini flesh. There we go. And the last thing, we got the herbs, and then we can actually get started cooking. And then it'll take a lot more to make this mushy. This cooks about 3 times as fast as this does, the inside. This is mostly water. You can squeeze it and it just kind of falls apart. Water and seeds. Okay, cilantro and basil. We got this lovely fresh basil. Let's talk about chiffonade real quick, which is the cut that we are going to do. I'm just going to grab a couple leaves off, talk about the different ways you can chiffonade and what that means and why you do it. Alright, so the theory is, well, it's not even a theory. The more of something that hits your tongue, the more flavor you're going to get. So if you just stick a whole piece of raw basil in your mouth, it's going to be very pungent and flavorful. Now, if we're mixing this into everything, you probably don't want a whole piece of basil in your mouth in the mix of all this. So you can either just dice it up, or you can do a chiffonade cut, which is what we're going to do here. What this does is provides a very stringy, long piece of basil that will actually hit your tongue and add more flavor, more so than a little piece of dice wood or anything else. Okay. So to chiffonade, basically you roll it up like you would a cigar. So you stack the leaves on top of each other. Usually about 4 or 5 is as much as you want. And then you roll over the edge. You roll it as tight as you possibly can. Now the idea here, and this is very good practice for knife skills, is to get the thinnest cut possible. Now there is a disadvantage to doing chiffonade, that is the basil becomes bruised and goes black quicker than it would obviously off of the branch, because you basically separated the entire leaf. But not my best chiffonade, but not my worst either. Now, one thing you can do if you want to do this ahead of time, and you don't want it to go black as quick, you can roll it. You can roll it this way. If you roll it that way, it does go black quicker. The reason for that is the strings inside of the leaf run more this way than they do this way. It's much easier to cut if you roll it long ways, but if you want it to not go brown as quick, you roll it the other way. It's actually a little bit easier with a few more leaves. There's a fine balance in there, but if you don't have enough leaves, they fall apart while you're cutting them, and it becomes a lot harder. Oh, I didn't even get my onion in here. We're out of space. All right. I don't want very much cilantro, just a tiny smidge. It is very potent stuff. A little rinse. Alright, so that's our herb mixture. I gotta find a way to cut this onion. Alright, so what are we gonna do here? I'm going to mix these together. Peppers and bok choy should cook in about the same amount of time, so we'll clear up some space. We'll add those at the same time. We also know we are going to add our garlic and ginger at the same time, so those can go together. There we go, got space. Get my station a little bit cleaned up here. Messy station, messy life. We have space. Alright, onion. No-brainer. Many different ways to peel an onion. This is the easiest and fastest way, in my opinion. If you are going to cut it in half anyways, it's the way to go. And as I say that, it's going to give me problems. There we go. Alright, let's give this a real quick half julienne. Julienne of onion, you'd go down this way and make longer strips. Half julienne, just cut in half. Alrighty. Onion done. Alright, that is the end of our cutting. We can now get to cooking. Do. Cooking is so much easier if you clean as you go, or at least tidy as you go. You don't have to be a clean freak, but if you tidy your station, get your stuff in order, the cleanup afterwards becomes much easier. I don't know, Foxy Grandpa. I've tried every single possible thing to stop onions. I'm talking about cutting in mass quantities. If you're cutting in mass quantities of onions, I don't think there's much you can do. Yeah, chewing something definitely does help, but when you're talking 10, 20 pounds of onions, you're pretty much shit out of luck. You could also chew on a piece of bread. That's a good way to go. Roll. Okay, we're just gonna very simply use vegetable oil for this. I don't want to use, I have sesame oil, I don't want to use it though. Okay, while we're waiting for that to heat up, I'll grab my bowls for plating. I'm guessing this is gonna make 4 or 5. Hazmat suit. The way to store garlic that you don't finish, usually put it in a plastic bag and then put it in a cold section of the refrigerator. It's more inhaling, I think, the fumes of the onion. Goggles only go so far. But the best thing you can do for not crying as onions is cut more onions. My first day of culinary school, I had to fine dice 14 pounds of onions. I've never cried so hard, my eyes have never been so irritated. But after that, it wasn't such a big deal. Also, the biggest tip I can give you for not crying to onions is have a very sharp knife. The sharper your knife is, when you cut into an onion, yeah, talk about initiation indeed. When you cut into an onion, if you have a dull knife, it basically bruises the onion and it sprays the juice of the onion. Very, very small amount, but that's what releases the gas. If you have a sharp knife and you cut into it, it's a very clean cut, and less of the juice will fly into the air, less of the gas is released, which makes you cry. Sharp knife is #1 for not crying to onions, and there's all sorts of little tricks you can try past that. But at the end of the day, onions are going to make you cry whether you want them to or not. Especially if you get a batch of nuclear onions. They're just insane. There's no stopping that. All right, that should be nice and hot now. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add our onion and garlic. The purpose of why we're adding this is not gonna take the longest to cook, but we want it to get aromatic, flavorful. You say aromatic means you can really, really smell it, and that doesn't happen until it cooks just a little bit. Also, don't want to brown it here, which is the scary part. So I'm pulling it off the flame. Oh god, that smells nice. All right, broccoli. Broccoli is going to take the longest, I think. It's going to be a very quick stir fry. Now, all we're looking for on broccoli is it turns green, that bright, vibrant green on the outside. Once we get that, we'll add more ingredients. You can smell the garlic all the way to Finland. Actually, the ginger comes up a lot more than the garlic, but yes, very good stuff. One thing to take note of here is you see I added oil to the pan. There's not very much left. It's because it's getting caught in the crevices of the broccoli. So you have to be careful and keep an eye on not to burn the garlic on the pan because there's less oil available there. Yeah, smell-o-vision coming to a channel soon. All right, you can see they're all the same now, but the broccoli has become a much darker green, which is what you want. So then we're going to add zucchini. We'll get more moisture in the pan when we add the bok choy, because the moisture will release from that. Right now, it's all about cooking down the garlic and getting those flavors into the broccoli. Also, that little 20 seconds we had the garlic and ginger inside of that oil is going to increase the flavor of that oil intensely. We're going to salt it here. I like to salt at the beginning and then about halfway through. And then you add your seasoning salt at the end. But how much salt gets onto the broccoli specifically is very important because it has all these little crevices and stuff in there, so you want to make sure that gets salted before you add your other things, and then it becomes kind of a mushy mess. What's up, Dazzo? Well, you have to get rid of that feeling of thinking you're going to fling stuff everywhere. Everything sauté is just about the same. Just a matter of practice. Okay. Now we're going to add onions. And you see how quickly this goes in. All you're looking for on the zucchini is that it's hot all the way through. Not cooked, just hot. Because it still has to continue to cook with the rest of this stuff. Dry rice, beans, half piece of toast is actually a very good awkward thing to flip in a pan. Toast off a piece of bread, throw half of it in a pan, and try to flip that around. So you guys can hear that. You hear that sizzle that just happened. The sizzle. I think I may have bit off more than I can chew with my pan here. I guess we'll find out soon. In fact, we did. So what we're going to do is cook the bok choy in a separate pan. One of the worst things you can do is add too much stuff to a pan. Never like to use two pans, but frankly, not everything cooks the way you want it to. So, just going to go a little bit of oil. Not much. You also have to keep in mind when you're salting stuff, let's say you like soy sauce on your stir fries. Soy sauce is inherently very salty, so if you oversalt your vegetables, you're going to have a bad time when you go to eat it. Actually, I just realized I didn't need to do that. What I should do, what I'm going to do, I already made another dish, but we're just going to dump this out and use the same pan, because that'd be the smarter thing to do. So all I'm looking for on the onions is that they turn opaque. I don't want them to be mushy by any means, but you don't want them to be raw either. Raw onions have a real bitter flavor to them, especially in large chunks. You don't want to crowd your pan. If you crowd your pan, you're never going to receive even cooking. This is about the most you want in a saute pan. That way you can flip it and still get even heat throughout. If it's mounded over with all those bok choy and pepper leaves, there's really no way to evenly cook anything. Alright, broccoli, what I look for when it's done, should still have a crunch to it. And it definitely still does. Okay, when we say opaque, talk about the different stages of onions here. Hopefully this shows up pretty good on the camera, but you can see mostly raw. It's exactly what we want, starting to cook. Starting to go opaque. It starts becoming very limp when it gets to that color. And when it gets to that color, that's when you want to pull it off. Also keep in mind it's going to continue to cook when you pull it off because there's a lot of heat in the pan. So we're going to pull it right there. What I'm going to do is dump this right in here. Dump an onion right down the fan. Sure. And just a smidge. Probably a little more than I need. It's okay. And watch, this will very quickly wilt down to next to nothing. Then we'll add our herbs and mix everything together, and then we'll plate and be done. And while we're doing that, I have a chance to clean up a little bit. Thank you very much, CyberPits. Okay, so we're almost there. What we don't want to do here is overcook the peppers and the hearts of the bok choy. What we do want to do is wilt down the greens. So I'd say that's just about right to add the cilantro and basil. Okay, that's just about good. Now we are going to overcrowd our pan so we can stir everything back together. And see, it's actually not as bad as I thought, but if I would have added the unwilted greens to this pot, it would have been a nightmare. It would have been overflowing the pan, so we had to let those wilt down before we did anything. Now, I would recommend stirring this with a spoon if you're not very confident in your sauteing skills, and still I am spilling a little bit, so spoon would probably be the way to go. Okay, so we have nice vegetables. No crazy seasoning, just ginger, garlic, basil, cilantro, salt. Big plays on that pan flip. Yes, big plays. Alori, it really depends. If you're buying seasonal vegetables, it's not going to be too bad. Depends on what you want to put on it. I mean, honestly, for a single person, this is probably 2 or 3 days worth of food. I should have cooked more rice, but I'll have very heavy on the veggies. I could probably double, maybe even triple the amount of rice and still make it work. But really, how much it costs is going to depend on the seasonality of the vegetables. And that's it. But I mean, things like onions and peppers are always pretty cheap. Broccoli you can find cheap quite often. So if I was going to do it again with the same amount of veggies, I'd probably do 1.5 cups or 2 cups of rice. The nice thing about eating rice and vegetables, I know a lot of people hate vegetables, is after you eat rice and vegetables, you feel damn good. It makes your body feel good. I am not a health freak by any means. In fact, I'm many times don't eat very healthy. But when I do eat healthy, you definitely notice a change in your temperament and your mood and how you feel about the day. So I'm excited to eat some vegetables. So yeah, I could use a lot more rice here. Lesson learned, I guess. So I think the real trick with vegetables is having them still be not raw, but crunchy. Crunchy, but cooked is the trick. Yeah, I could have easily gotten away with 2 cups of rice and still had nice looking bowls. Rice is the cheap part, so the more rice you make, the more filling it's going to be. Obviously having the filler in there is important as well, but that is what it is. Whoa, basil. Not the right tool for the job. And don't be scared to cook vegetables. If you cook them wrong, maybe they're not going to taste the best, but keep in mind what you can do better. The staggering of when you add things to the pan is the most important fact in cooking mixed vegetables. So practice is going to make perfect, as with most things in cooking. Alright. That is stir fry. That's my food for the next day and a half, 2 days, if not a bit more. You may think that cooking takes a lot of time, but think about if you go out to eat, if you go to pick up a pizza or drive to McDonald's, what's that costing you in gas and time? That took us about an hour. Advice: reheating rice that was stored in the fridge. One, make sure it's covered after it cools down. Add a little bit of water when you reheat it, though. That'll keep it from becoming crunchy. Think about the time that you're taking to go get food prepared for you, or all that. When you can, if you plan it out, you can cook for yourself for 3 or 4 days at a time, which is quite cheap. Yeah, the curry came out good. That one will be revisited. Okay, so basically the plan is, guys, on May 4th, Cooking with Frag returns with a new format and setup. It'll be much more streamlined than it is right now. I've been very much enjoying this series, but it's just not quite where I want it to be. So, starting May 4th, there will be a new format for Cooking with Frag. It'll be better for you guys, better for me, and that's when we'll return. So no Cooking with Frag next week, but May 4th we return with a vengeance. What a cash in! It is getting a reboot, yes. Yes, and it really is exactly in Cryptio. Like, we put the broccoli in first because we know it's going to take the longest to cook. We still want it to be crunchy at the end, though. So I mean, we really added everything within about a window of about 2 minutes. I mean, some vegetables only take 45 seconds to cook. Alright guys, I'm going to go load up downstairs going to show Sacriel my tattoo since he so insistent. Everybody's insistent. We'll show that off for a second. Then I'm gonna come upstairs and eat, and then we will do the show. But I'll be back in about a minute. Just going to go load up downstairs. Everything's set up and ready to go. Be back soon.